have the wonderful pleasure of interviewing Crystal Langdon about her new book that is just out called Keep the Curls, Empowering Women Personally and Professionally. Hi, Crystal.
Hi, Wayne.
Is this fun?
This is a lot of fun.
Yeah. Life is getting fun, isn't it?
It is. It's getting interesting.
It is indeed. And the book, this is what we're all waiting for. We're waiting for the big moment when it comes out and all that sort of thing. What are you expecting?
Well, I'm expecting that people will get the book, read it, apply it, understand that God has put within them the CEO codes to be everything He's created them to be, and then get up and apply it and expand the kingdom.
All right. So you wrote about the DNA code. You just kind of mentioned that just now. So can you tell me a little bit about this DNA code? It's very exciting to me.
Well, Wayne, I think that a lot of women discredit themselves. They think that it's the men that have the CEO capabilities, which is Chief Executive Officer, and that they're the ones that are going to go out and just expand the kingdom of God. And they will, and they do. But women also have those codes within them. And when I talk about codes, I'm talking about the ability to administrate, the ability to operate, to do marketing, to do finance. They're already interwoven within women. I mean, look at Proverbs 31. All the codes were in there, and we're called to do that and more.
So these codes are really important to all of life. So tell me about how women apply specifically these codes to different areas of their life or different structures to life, moms and as well as in business and that sort of thing.
Okay, so Wayne, the way that it works is when you read this book, the first half of the book is explaining the codes, how they work, and so you can identify them. Now that you know you have the codes, you need to look at the second half of the book because it tells how do we apply it just as a woman? How does it apply to you as a mom or as a wife or as a businesswoman? Because each one of us has those codes within us and they operate in different ways at different times in our lives. For example, I remember that when my kids were young and I would hear George coming down the road with his big tractor trailer, I had a choice to either get up off the floor with the kids where I was playing and run to meet him at the door, or just to kind of let him come home whenever he got there and make it a non-event in my life. But I knew I wanted my kids to fall in love with their dad, so I had to first model it and show that I was in love with him. And so I'd pick them up, I'd run to the window, and we'd bang on the window because Dada was home. You know, now they're all grown up and out of the house, Wayne, but they all love their father. And you know what that was? That was the CEO code of marketing. I was selling to them their father. I was endorsing him, and because I did my job well in sales, they have a great relationship with their dad.
That is really awesome. That just fits so good with life. What about single moms? What about the single parenting mom that is out there and struggles all the time? Tell me about that DNA code in them too.
That's such a great question, Wayne, because I love single women because they are out there, they're raising children, so these singles moms, they have a lot on their shoulders. So the CEO codes, they work equally as well within them because we all have it inside. So look at this. They're going to be able to set an example to their children. They'll be able to use marketing. They'll be able to use finance, administration, and operations. All it is they apply it to the situation that they're in. A lot of times when we think about administration is setting a vision. So a single mom can set a vision and use administration for her family, use that code and say, children, this is where we are today, but look where God's going to bring us. And then she'll use the codes of operation to say, these are the steps that are going to get us there. And then she's going to model in front of them how to serve the Lord, how to develop a family so that the kids can see the CEO codes of marketing and finance. All of them are in there. We just take each situation once we understand the codes and apply it. Whether we're a single mom, whether we're a businesswoman, whether we're retired, it all applies. We're just in different phases.
So that's great. So let me ask you a really problematic question that I know you answer in the book. That has to do with finance. Finance has such a emotional control on our lives. You know, it can, our emotional strength and weaknesses can happen at that time of the month when we have to sit down and write out all the checks and so on. And you deal with the issue of the CEO and finance in here. Tell me about the ability there, of that ingrained ability in finance.
You know, Wayne, a lot of times women, they excuse themselves from finances. They say, well, my husband takes care of it. Or if it's a single mom, there's frustration. She says, I don't know how to handle this. And they've given themselves the right to be emotional and just kind of disconnect from finances. But the truth of the matter is, they know how to handle finances. You know, if you go see a group of women together, I've done this many times, I'll say, oh, I like the shirt you're wearing. And they'll say, oh, thank you, JCPenney's $3.99. Oh, they know their sales, and they can calculate it in their mind how much they're going to save on coupons and what the best deal is. But if somehow there's this emotional block when it comes to sitting down and doing the bills. And at that point, we have to really dig a little bit deeper than that and say, you know what? Money's just a tool. So what's the real issue here? You have the capabilities within you to deal with it. So a lot of times we have to first dig a little deeper, deal with the memories that are connected to the finances, get that out of the way, and then begin to put our finances in order. There's a lot of steps that I talk about in the book. And I would encourage women to read it because they do have the capabilities. You know, I think of Lydia in the Bible, that she had the ability to run businesses. The Proverbs 31 that I had mentioned before. We have the capability to consider the field, decide if it's a good deal, and then go ahead and buy it. We were created to be financially successful.
Okay, Crystal, so there's an underlying or kind of a string you have all the way through here about business. So business and doing business, starting business, the business application, the understanding that women have naturally or in that great DNA code in them. Talk to me about that.
You know, Wayne, I think about when it comes to business, and I don't want someone to read that book and disqualify themselves and say, well, I don't have a business, so I can't read the book. So let's just kind of set that there. This is for every woman. But there is that DNA, that thread, like you mentioned, that runs through it about business. Because I believe that God says in His Word that whatever we put our hand to will prosper, and we have the ability to run prosperous businesses. So if we can find out that these are the CEO codes within us, begin to sharpen those CEO codes in administration, operations, finance, and marketing, then we can put together businesses. You know, a lot of times we can go before the Lord and say, oh, there's not enough resources. And He says, but look in your hands. What have I already given you to do? Get up and do it. And as we begin to look at those avenues, and wait, it might be something as simple as sewing purses. Look at Vera Bradley. Those are just sewn purses that someone said, hey, I can do that. So each of us have ingrained with us abilities and insights and seeds of wealth that if we'll cultivate them, it can provide income. And I think a lot of times we have business ideas and then we say, well, I don't know if I should do that. Or we go to the opposite extreme and say, God told me to do it, and we have no planning. And it fails and we wonder what happened there. If we could begin to wait on the Lord, have Him reveal the plan of what He has for our lives, the business ideas He's given us, and then take the steps to understand the CEO codes, get a plan in place, oh, we could rock the world.
Okay, at the end of chapter 9, there's something really cool that I'm even going to read it, okay? Read it. It says, be productive, not busy. It says, too many business owners take pride in how busy they are. They do not understand that activity is not the same as progress. Finish that thought for me. Talk to me about that.
Oh my word, Wayne, when it comes to individuals and they're working their business, boy, they're so proud of themselves that they're working from sunup to sundown, and they're just driving and their little legs are turning. They never stop to think, is this productive what I'm doing? You know, sometimes the most productive thing we can do is to step back from the situation, evaluate, have systems of measurement in place, and decide, am I just being busy or am I accomplishing something? I'd rather take time in the morning and say, okay, God, what's my assignment for today? Get a clear view of what I'm supposed to do. And you know what? I might do more in a 5-hour day or a 7-hour day than I would in a 14-hour day because I'm being productive, not just busy. So one of the things that I encourage in the book is to have systems of measurement. You want to know if this is the assignment that you're responsible for, how are you doing on it? How's your progress going? And just being busy, well, that just doesn't cut it. You've got to know where you stand and have those systems of measurement in place. Be productive.
So, Crystal, in my endorsement of the book, I said something that I truly believe. This book is not only for women. I think it crosses gender. There is no real gender line even in this book. Yes, you're encouraging women. Yes, you're giving the DNA code and the understanding. But there's good principle of business here. There's good, exciting information about the good life. It's for men also to read and know about those things. It's also good for men to get a new viewpoint of women in the business area. But not only that, for husbands to have and not just hand the book to their wives, but to read it and understand. It's time we understood those things, and that's part of what I certainly got from the book. While you were writing this book, what did you feel along those lines of your voice to men?
Wayne, there are not two sets of rules. See, for so long we thought this is the set of the rules for the men, and this is the set of the rules for the women. Well, this book is basically taking down that middle line and saying, oh no, the truth applies to both. Men were called to be successful and women were called to be successful. And the truth is the truth. Whether it's a woman reading the book or whether it's a man reading the book, if God has endowed us with the power to be successful and that whatever we put our hand to would prosper, then that truth applies to whether it's a man or whether it's a woman reading the book. Now, I'm hopeful that men will read this book because what I present in here, a man can use. And if he'll use it, he can be just as successful as well. And if a man will read it, he can stand up and say, now, hon, I remember in this book, it says that you have the ability. Let me help come alongside. Sometimes women are so trapped in the traditionalism of what we have been taught all our lives that we have this little box that we sit in and we're not to come out. But if the men in our lives will come and help pull us out of the box and bring us into the fullness of our freedom, then the women can stand up with the support and they can roar a sustainable roar right alongside the men. And think of the power. One puts 1,000 to flight, the two of them in covenant. Wow, we can do a lot.
So what I'd like you to do is go online to the website keepthecurlsbook.com, keepthecurlsbook.com, and order one of these books. Get it and not just read it, but study it and realize the principles put into your life, adding those principles that Crystal so aptly writes about here and really lives in her life. If you'll put those into your life and begin to operate in those principles, the sky's the limit. The wonders of God are yours too. So God bless you.